Hi there, Craig Hewitt here from Castos. Thanks so much for joining me back on the YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking all about how to effectively promote your podcast on social media. Let's dive in. The first and most important thing to think about when thinking about how to promote your podcast effectively on social media is remembering WIFM. What's WIFM? Craig, what's in it for me, right? You have to be answering the what's in it for me for your audience every time you think about posting across all the different channels and across every different piece of content that you're trying to promote. Answering what's in it for me, what's in it for your audience is going to inform a lot of the copywriting and image and audiograms and short clip decisions that you'll make because you really want to be providing value. That's what all of this is about, right? That's why we podcast, that's why we have a YouTube channel, that's why we blog, that's why we post on social media, is we want to provide value for your audience. And answering what's in it for me is the cornerstone of how you're going to get started in consistently delivering value to your audience. If you don't know what's in it for your audience, then talk to them, right? Start weekly Zoom meetings or have like a Facebook group or something like that where you can get in there and have like two-way dialogue with your audience. The beautiful thing about social media is it allows for this kind of two-way street a lot of times, right? Whether it's Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or whatever, you're posting, you're getting feedback from your audience on what they like. Podcasting is largely like a one-way street. Like we talk and they listen. And so you need to find a way to encourage this feedback loop to get feedback and guidance of what your audience likes and what they don't so that you can provide them more value in the future. Let's talk about where to post and when, right? This is the meat of the issue, and I want to address this first because this is what a lot of you are watching for, right? So I believe there is a single answer on where to post and when and how often, and we're going to dive into that now. And the beginning of the answer is it depends, right? And this is not me trying to be an accountant and say it depends and kind of skirting the issue, but it depends on you and where your audience already is. It might be that you're already involved on Twitter and that you want to post there because your audience is there and you have a lot of engagement and dialogue already. That's great. It might be that you're taking a more video first approach and you're using YouTube or YouTube Shorts and posting there, or TikTok, right? It might be Instagram, it might be Facebook, it might be LinkedIn. It depends is the answer, right? I think something that's very important from talking to Jonathan Reed in our webinar before, and we'll have a link to that webinar replay in the show notes here. The most important thing is to have one primary channel that you're optimizing for, and then post everywhere else as well. Maybe TikTok is your channel, right? So you're going to think about, I got to create short form video content first, right? That's great. But that doesn't mean you can't also post that to Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. It might be that, hey, short text content and threads are what I do. So I'm going to think about posting to Twitter first. That's cool. But you can also do like LinkedIn carousels for that. So don't exclude other channels just because you're optimizing for one. But I very much believe you should have one in mind first, and then the other should be secondary after that. Okay, when and how often to post, right? This is the question. I want to post. I want to get my stuff out there. Everyone's attention span is super short these days. Most posts that everybody makes don't ever get kind of visualized and seen by your audience. The algorithms might suppress them. Who knows, right? All these questions that we don't have answers to. But you want to post probably more than you think, right? And here's the formula that we've come up with. So I'm going to cover the major 5 channels, right? Instagram first. We like to post on Instagram 3 or 4 times a day when we're advising our clients on how to get traction and really move their audience growth on Instagram 3 or 4 times a day. LinkedIn once a day. Facebook once a day. Twitter 2 or 3 times a day, right? It's a little bit variable, kind of like Instagram 3 or 4 times a day, Twitter 2 or 3 times a day, and TikTok more, right? 4 or 5 times a day, right? And I think that these shorter form places, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all kind of have something in common. You're going to post more often because it's shorter content, right? Something on LinkedIn or Facebook, you might have a longer post once a day, maybe twice a day on Facebook and LinkedIn are fine. But that's how we like to think about our primary posting day and what that schedule will look like. Using a tool like Buffer or Hootsuite or one of these that let you post to multiple places all at the same time is a great way to organize your content calendar. And we have links to those in the description below. But just think about using a tool. Don't think, I have to go log into these 6 different places every day. Use a tool, concentrate everything in one place so you can draft all the content. You might have to adapt it slightly because there's character limits depending on what you're using, but use a tool to kind of automate this. So that's on, say like episode release day, right? We're talking specifically about how to promote your podcast on social media. This is on the day an episode goes live. But let's rewind a little bit. One thing that's really cool is to tease future episodes. So think about, okay, if my episodes are coming out every Wednesday, Monday, I'm going to drop a little teaser, right, on all of these platforms just once and say, hey, new episode coming Wednesday. Here's a sneak peek at what to look forward to. This is great because it gets the audience looking forward to engaging with you on Wednesday when you post that new clip or that new episode. It's just a great way to keep the conversation going in the meantime. Okay, so we have kind of the preamble, right? And we have the day the episode goes live. And then you want to keep posting on your primary channel for sure. And I think really on each of the channels 3 more times in the coming week. This is assuming that you're doing a weekly podcast. But this way you'll have the teaser, right? A couple days before. You'll have the day the episode goes live. And you'll have 3 more posts pretty evenly spread out through the subsequent week leading up to that teaser episode. So you're really publishing about every business day, on the weekends too, maybe, depending on what channel you're on. So kind of thinking about teaser, day the episode goes live, a couple of more spread out pretty evenly through there, more on your primary channel, right? So if your primary channel is Twitter, think about posting kind of every day there amongst your other kind of content that you'll be promoting for your brand. One other approach we really love is, and I alluded to this earlier, is getting feedback and involvement from your audience. So maybe you're having a tough time coming up with an idea for your next episode. Ask that, right? Post it on social media. Say, hey, wanting to talk about this topic, what would you like me to cover? And people will chime in and they'll say, oh, do this or interview this person or cover this. I've never heard you talk about this. I'd love to hear, your thoughts on this topic. It's a great way to get really authentic and dynamic feedback and engagement from your audience. And it'll grow the kind of connection that you have with them offline, right? Because the podcast I consider like online, right? Offline, off podcast. Being social media is just a great way to continue that conversation in between episodes. In terms of the mechanics of posting, one thing that I think is underutilized are hashtags, right? They're kind of ubiquitous across all of the channels. Use hashtags that are appropriate for the topic that you're talking about. And a lot of times these are always the same hashtags for all of your episodes, but it might be that you have a topic on monetizing your content or growing your audience or thought leadership or something like that. Those might vary, right? So you might want to just have this in a little note document. Hey, these are the hashtags I always use. And these are the ones that are going to be unique for certain episodes, right? And I would say the same thing if you have guests on your show, if it's an interview style or a roundtable format, 100% always mention those people. If they're on the platform that you're posting on, find and mention those people. Hands down the best way to get them involved and you promoting the content of their episode. And it brings me to my next point, which is leverage your guest audience. This is, I think, hands down the mark for me as a guest on other people's podcasts. When I say, ooh, this person's a pro, is when they provide me a media kit. It takes all of the guesswork out of it for me to say, oh, I have to go find this thing on the website and the link over on Spotify and da-da-da-da-da. No, it's all taken out of the equation. They send me an email with like a zip file or something like that, or just the assets, cover image for the episode, audiogram or short clips, a couple of quotes, maybe a couple of links that they want me to mention, and it's all done for me. I just take, copy, put it into Twitter, and I'm off, right? It makes asking your guest to share the content with their audience super simple, right? And so that's really, I think, the most straightforward way to grow your audience. If you have an interview-based show, is leverage your guest audience. And I think setting the expectation up front when you invite them onto the show, say, hey, I'd love to have you on the show. It's going to be this day. Here, use Calendly or SavvyCal or something like that to schedule the episode. When this episode is live, I would love for you to share it out on social media, include it in your email newsletter if you could, and link to that episode from your website. Those 3 things, if you can do those consistently over time and you publish 52 episodes a week, 100% you'll have a successful podcast, right? Because you are cross-pollinating your ideas and your message with other people's audiences 52 times a year. And the chance of picking up a new listener here and a new listener here and a new listener here is really, really good, right? If you're doing your job and creating good content, but you have the systems to leverage and involve other people's audiences in your stuff, 100% you'll be successful. So we talked about where to post, right? Always one primary place, when to post, and gave the schedule there. We'll have a link to resources that go in depth on all this in the description below. We talked about hashtags and @mentions. Always mention a guest or anyone you have on your podcast. A great way for them to get involved and like or react or retweet your post. And then the mechanics of like get a tool, right? Get Hootsuite or Buffer or something like that, Hypefury, to do this consistently, so you don't have to go in there and manually do this all the time. You can do this. You can have someone on your team do this, and set it and forget it so that you can focus on creating more content and engaging with your audience. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention short form video. Touched on it, and I want to really dive in here because it's super important. Here, 2023, this is hands down the biggest kind of movement in social media is short video content. YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, right? These are the places that popularized it, but every social media platform has these. They're all really popular and you get a ton of engagement on them. I would highly encourage you to create some sort of video content for your podcast, even if you're not recording what we call native video like this when you're recording your episodes. We really like that. You can put the whole long form thing on YouTube, right? It's a great way to repurpose content from the start. And then just have an audio podcast that goes out for Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But really clipping out the most important and interesting and dynamic segments from that for use in social media is fantastic, right? So these clips are between 30 seconds and a couple of minutes, depending on which platform you're optimizing for. That's a whole nother topic. But I would really strongly think about, at least creating audiograms. We have a tool in Castos that lets you do this for free within our Growth and Pro plans, or just capture native video like this and clip out little short segments and publish those separately from the rest of the long form content. I think if you get into the habit of creating video one way or the other, right? Whether it's native video or using a tool like ours for audiograms, and just publish that to your social channels, I think you'll just see a lot more engagement. I think the reality is video content is just higher fidelity, right? You can see my face, I can see your face. We have the captions running across. An interesting thing about that is very few people actually listen to the audio part of video content. They just watch the captions. So just best practice as you're creating this short form content, make sure you have the words on the screen because a lot of people don't listen. So that's my bit of a rant about short form video content. We just really strongly believe in it. So if you're not doing it today, I would suggest finding a way to do it. It doesn't have to be your face on the screen. You can use audiograms and things like that. And there's a lot of great tools that help you do this. So I hope this is helpful in kind of laying out a framework for how to think about publishing on social media, the exact kind of best practice mechanics that we believe in terms of the schedule on a per episode or per week basis, best practice in terms of hashtags and @ mentions, things like that. And then gotta mention short form video. It's fantastic and it'll transform your audience growth and your relationship with your audience because they can see you. And that's just really wonderful. Links to all the resources we mentioned are in the description below. And if you're enjoying the channel, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.